many of us face immense challenges in our lives. I want to uncover secrets and principles to building a life filled with purpose, not weighed down by hardship. I'm Kirsty, your host in this journey. Each episode, I'll be talking to different people, sharing their stories and practical steps to help us to design a life that we love. Welcome back to the Let's Talk Life Design podcast. I'm Kirsty Salisbury, and this episode is brought to you by my brand new book. My brand new book, A Life by Design, How to Create Your Best Future, regardless of your current circumstances, is now finished and available for you to read. This story is all about my personal journey of overcoming crisis, my journey of overcoming a sudden brain illness, which took me right to my deathbed, brought me back again, and left me with a body that wasn't working properly. It's my story of the experience that I went through, the things I learnt, and how I learnt some of these strategies for designing our best future. If you'd like to read this book, you can do by getting it on Amazon, or you can also pick up a copy at my website, which is kirstysalisbury.com. But before then, on to our next episode.
15 years ago, I was basically at the point where I was trying to kill myself every few months. The past 10 to 15 years has been a journey to go from suffering to living. And the stand-up comedy is actually what's gotten me open and talking about Tourette syndrome and all this stuff. It's absolutely incredible how much has changed just by embracing who I am. For some reason, every time I go to a therapist, they're always like, nah, I think you have something different. And I'm like, great, more stand-up material.
Today I'm talking to Dan Zerin, a comedian based in Iceland, and Dan's on a mission to raise awareness around Tourette syndrome. He's doing it in a very fun and entertaining way as the manager of the only comedy club in Iceland. He's put together a group called My Voices Have Tourettes. So Dan, tell us a little bit more about who you are and tell us about the show.
Yeah, my show is called My Voices Have Tourettes. As you can hear, my voices do have Tourettes. And I have a whole bookload of other things, ranging from panic disorder, OCD, anxiety, ADD, depression, and being a comedian is also a disorder, yes.
Oh, you've got to have that, because even right now, you've got a giant smile on your face as you're telling me all these things. I'm like, who can have that and think that that's funny? And then you say you're a comedian and it all makes sense. So, Dan, Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
So my name is Dan. I live in Iceland, as you said. Let's see here. For the past 10, 15 years, I've been going back and forth between many different diagnoses. I always forget that word. All the things I mentioned, those are things that I've been diagnosed with in the past 10, 15 years. And I'm actually possibly working on a new diagnosis with a therapist I've been with for the past year. Because for some reason, every time I go to a therapist, they're always like, nah, I think you have something different. And I'm like, great, more stand-up material.
Oh my goodness.
But no, I just, it's interesting. I guess the thing I've learned over the past 10 to 15 years is just there's a big movement in the PC world today that's trying to get people to say that people with disorders and syndromes don't suffer from them, but they live with them. Mm-hmm. And that's, as much as I agree and disagree with that, it's kind of, I guess, a good way to describe my journey as a person with this stuff. Because I've the past 10 to 15 years has been a journey to go from suffering to living. And I finally am. The reason I'm always smiling is because I actually consider myself living with this stuff now instead of suffering from it. But for the last 10 to 15 years, there was a lot of pain, both mental and physical. Because with Tourette's, it's not all voices that sound like dog squeaky toys. It's also with a lot of like muscle tension and when you're young and you don't know what's going on, you try to suppress all of it by tensing a lot of muscles, and it leads to a lot of pain. But I've been actively working to not suppress them, so now I'm just all over the place.
Oh, wow. But that sounds great. Sounds like you're having heaps of fun doing that. So you said about 10 or 15 years ago you were suppressing this and you were really you weren't in the same place that you're at now. So what has been some of your journey to get to where you are now? What changed?
Oh wow, let's see. Well, so I started off. I wanted to be a rock star, and I wanted to play guitar. And it was kind of funny. I actually noticed that when I played guitar, and I still notice this today, it's one of the only times that I actually don't have to like. It's not that I have to. It's just I notice there's no suppression involved, but all my tics tend to go away because
wow.
my mind is so focused on what I'm doing that it's kind of like it doesn't have time for all the tics. So I mean, music has always been something that's been huge for me. And actually, when I left high school, I went to Western Michigan University for opera. And but while I was there, that was the time that I was really like spending almost all of my day trying to suppress my tics.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually damaging my voice. It was damaging my throat. And so I went through a lot of struggles in college trying to kind of mentally getting myself past that to even want to sing. And I ended up dropping out after the third year and then ended up in LA for guitar finally and doing what I actually wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I moved out there. I absolutely loved it. I mean, 12 months of sun, you can't beat it. It's awesome. And then I moved to Iceland where it's 12 months of, well, sun is not the word I would use, but it's, the thing about Iceland is it's just right from the start, there was a feeling that I got of feeling like I was home. Like I was finally at a place I could call home. And it didn't just have that effect on me of I found the place I wanted to live, but it was just, I mean, the way that people are here, the way that life is for me here, I didn't feel like I had to really put as much effort into living as I did in the other places, with the disorders that I have and all of that stuff. And as I got like a year into living here, I started doing stand-up comedy. And the stand-up comedy is actually what's gotten me open and talking about Tourette syndrome and all of this stuff. And I mean, so when I say that, I'm a completely different person today, I mean, 15 years ago, I was basically at the point where I was trying to kill myself every few months. Mm-hmm. And now I'm trying to do everything I can not to do that because I want to keep going because it's just everything that I'm doing now has made such an effort or like such an effect on me in a positive way that it's just, I want to share this positivity with everyone else.
Yeah, wow. That is fantastic. I love what you're saying. I love how you've got a show called My Voices Have Tourette's.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Mine do too.
No, that's hilarious. So was there a point when this all sort of came crashing down? Was there a significant moment for you when you decided to change things? Or what happened? What was that point?
I mean, honestly, that show is pretty much the thing that has completely changed my life. I mean, it sounds silly to say or cliche to say, but it really has. I mean, I initially intended that show just to be with me and my friend Elva, who is also a comedian with Tourette syndrome. I just wanted to do a show with her because she's awesome, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to do a show like showcasing the Tourette syndrome and showcasing comedians with it and showing that, just because we have this, it doesn't mean we can't still follow our dreams and do what we want to do. And so we were going to do that for a festival here in Iceland. And then it just right after she said yes, I was like, you know what, let's get my friend Hannah involved. She has schizophrenia, and that would it would get some, mental diversity in there. Mental health diversity, not just mental diversity. That's another thing. But it was just, getting the two of them in the group with me. It instantly started feeling like this could be something that could help people, not just be a show that would be fun and exciting, but it actually could help people. And we noticed when we started doing the show that all of us, like all three of us, just started feeling more comfortable with who we were. And we said, you know what, let's just talk about this stuff. Let's talk to people after the shows, before the shows, when someone comes up to me on the street and thinks I'm a crazy homeless person because I'm squeaking and I have long hair and a beard, I could be like, oh no, this is a time to educate you. And even just, outside of that show, just the group of us that we have now, just, the way we talk to each other, it's so inspiring to all of us that it's unbelievable how a show can do, all this stuff. And I actually stopped. The reason I stopped suppressing the tics was actually for the show, because I realized that if I suppressed my tics to the point where they weren't noticeable, I basically have no material. Because all of my stuff is about my tics, and if no one's noticing them, then it's just like, he's faking it. Yeah. So I stopped suppressing them, and it's incredible. Since I've stopped suppressing them, I felt better. 90% or more of the pain has gone away. I'm singing so much better than I did when I was in school. It's absolutely incredible how much has changed just by embracing who I am.
Yeah. Tell me about some of the early times when you first got started. Were you afraid?
When I first got started in life, because that's a very different conversation. I came out of that womb like a champion. I was just like, I'm going to take on life. And then I get into life and I'm like, this is not going to be easy.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the first time when you started to relax a little bit, when you started to speak about this. When you started to share it with other people, what was going on then?
A couple things happened. One thing I've been telling people about this lately. One thing about being open about who you are and just letting people know exactly what's going on with you has its positives and its negatives. The things that I've noticed is that I felt better. I felt much better. It's just nice to walk into a room and everyone just knows what's going on with you before you have to say anything, because then you can just go about your day. You don't have to worry so much. It's not so much of a struggle to worry about how people view you, because they already know you. And so that part of it is a huge positive, but the negative, and it's not as bad of a negative as it sounds, is I did lose some friends. Because some of my friends got the wrong impression of these things, or it just, they couldn't be bothered to deal with this or whatever. Luckily it wasn't many. It was mostly people online that have either unfollowed me or unfriended me and then blocked me or whatever. But in the end, the reason why that's not that big of a deal is because if people are going to stop being your friend because of a disorder or a syndrome, they're not worth your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But they would have known how you were beforehand, right?
Some of them, like, I say this like it was a bunch of them. It was just like 2 or 3 people, but like I know, well, like one of them gave me a hard time because, I was talking on Facebook about depression and about the fact that one of the tics that I get is actually an intrusive mental tic that involves suicidal thoughts. Yeah. And I've had this for a very long time, and it's I'm at the point now where I know how to deal with it and I recognize it as it is. But going so long without knowing that it's just a tic, it's really hard to not give into it. And I was doing a whole post about that on Facebook. And one of my the people that I was friends with, he basically told me to grow up and then unfollow and then unfriended me. Yeah. And I was like, at first it got to me because I have anxiety and panic disorder. And I was like, oh no, what's going to happen now? Is everyone going to unfollow me? Am I going to lose all my friends? But then I thought, you know what a douchebag. Why would someone, stop being your friend simply because you want to get your story out there and help other people? It's just, they're not worth your time.
Yeah, totally. So you're going to have quite a strong message around self-acceptance, right?
What's that?
You've probably got quite a strong message around self-acceptance.
So, oh yes, I'm sorry. I realized it was your thick German accent. It was no, it's it was I have my biggest message is self-acceptance. It's a very I mean, because the thing is, regardless of who you are, regardless of what you have or you don't have, self-acceptance is a hard thing to get to. It's a hard thing to grasp. No, and I mean, also me being a perfectionist and with all these things does not help. Yeah. I mean, I used to record I would record songs on guitar, and I would record them 100 times and still go, you know what, it's not good enough.
Yeah,
and it's the trick is just that's kind of the $1 million question, I guess, because there isn't really a trick. But I mean, I think the biggest thing that's helped me the most in self-acceptance is just being open about this stuff. Because I mean, I used to be so terrified of people like being like, oh, that's the Tourette's, dude, that's the guy with Tourette's. And it's just like, yeah, what would people think about that? But now that everyone goes, oh yeah, that's the Tourette's guy, that's the Tourette's comedian, I'm like, why, yes, I am. Thank you for noticing.
Totally.
It's because of just, for lack of a better way of putting it, just going, fuck it. I have what I have and I am who I am. It's like, I was telling someone a few weeks ago, the thing is, like, I have this, I'll try to show on the camera. I have this shake with my hand. It's been doing this the whole interview. It's a tick that I have. And I had this thought one day of, I could spend the rest of my life, or as long as I have this tick, I could spend it being worried about it, being terrified. Like, when I first got it, I thought I was getting Parkinson's. That was just the first thought that popped in my head, because it's not uncommon for people with Tourette syndrome to get, similar side effects like Parkinson's. Okay. And so I was getting really scared, but I was thinking, you know what, I could either be afraid of it, or I could look at the upside of it and realize that, my handshaking, first of all, is not that big of a deal. It's just a thing that happens. But in terms of comedy, I mean, I was literally walking down the street one day and I was thinking, okay, well, I don't want to tense muscles and suppress, this tick. So I'll just put my hand in my pocket. But then my hand was shaking in my pocket and that looked even worse. And getting that realization of how funny it is. And I mean, being a bartender, when your hand is shaking and you're holding a bottle and you're accidentally pouring more alcohol than you intended to, people love that. They want you to serve them more. It has its benefits. It has its upsides. And I went, you know what? I'll just think about those things. And before I knew it, like all the worry, all the stress of having the tick vanished. They didn't matter anymore. It was just a thing that happened. Like my mom was worried about me because, like, another one with my hand is I do this with my wrist, and that one actually does cause pain, and that's why she was worried about it, and she was asking me a lot about it, and I said, well, it hurts, yes, it does, but if I look at it, that it's like slowly turning me into the evil witch from Snow White, where I'm like, that.
Yeah.
Then it makes people laugh and it makes me laugh. And I go, you know what? The pain goes away. It's not a big enough pain that I need to take painkillers or anything for. It's just, it lasts a little bit. Maybe I'll have some issues later in life, but I'm not worried about that right now, because I'm just, as long as I can find the humor and the positivity from it, I've got nothing to worry about.
Are you quite focused on living in the moment and embracing what's happening right now?
Yes. I mean, maybe a bit too much at times, but because I have a problem where I'll go like a week period of time eating cheeseburgers every day. That's probably not the best way to live in the moment. But I basically, and it's not a happy reason, but there was a moment of time where I got to the point where I had so many suicidal thoughts, and even after knowing what they came, like how they came about, the fact that they're not actually how I feel, it's just they happen. after getting so many of them, I just kind of got to that point where I went, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to die tomorrow. I don't even know if I'm going to die today.
You mean by suicide?
By suicide, but also just in general. In general, we never know, you know, when our time comes. So it was just that thought of, whether my time ends by me or by just natural causes, I don't know when that's going to happen. So I might as well just experience life to experience it. And if at the end of the day I'm satisfied with how my life went, then if that time ends, then it ends. Otherwise, I'll start the next day and go, okay, you know what? I'm not satisfied yet. I'm going to wait till the end of the day to make that decision. And then the cycle just keeps going every day. It's just a matter of, you know what? How can I beat yesterday? Like, how can I make yesterday look like the worst day of my life and have it be one of the best days of my life at the same time? And living that way, it's not always easy. I don't always have good days. I'm not that crazy like Tim Robbins, motivational speaker yet. I'm not annoyingly positive yet. I will be there eventually. Don't worry, you guys. But it's just if you're always worried about everything and you're not looking, forward, you're never going to get anywhere. And nothing's ever going to get better.
Yeah, it's so true. We've constantly got to be looking forward. We've got to be looking how we can improve, embrace, and make our life what we want it to be. So let's talk a little bit of strategy. You've been on such an amazing journey. You've really accepted who you are and what's happening to you and the way that your body works. Mm-hmm. What's some of your strategy? How do you keep doing this? What would you say to somebody who perhaps doesn't have the same things going on, but maybe they're held back by not accepting themselves or unsure what they can do to start living this amazing regretless life?
Yeah, I think that the toughest thing is the first push, because like I said in the beginning, the thing that's helped me the most was simply being open. I mean, simply talking about this stuff to someone, even if at the end of the day they don't care. Just getting that energy out and not repressing it, not holding it back, just letting it out there, just letting people know, I love that everyone keeps saying, don't put this stuff on Facebook. Don't post about your feelings on Facebook. Screw that, man. I'm going to post about all of this on Facebook. If you don't want to read it, don't read it. But the people that care are the ones that you're doing this for. It's and it's not even just them. It's the moment you start talking about this stuff, you realize that, as I was saying, once everyone knows what's going on, it's not as hard to fight it because everyone is there with you. Yeah. My biggest advice to anyone in what I would call the suffering period of whatever it is you have, whether it's disorder syndromes or, your car broke down or you just lost at a game of Pokemon, whatever it is that's going on in your life that's causing stress, if you're going through that suffering period, just, talk about it, find someone you can speak to, truth is, that's kind of how I viewed therapy for a long time and kind of still do, is I view therapy as I don't really sometimes I don't feel I have someone I can talk about this stuff with. So of course I spend a lot of money to talk to someone about it, which makes so much sense. But the thing is, because that's the problem, ultimately, we don't all feel that we have people we can talk to. Yeah. But that's why, I think whether it's talking to someone or posting on Facebook, or, a lot of people are doing blogs, even just writing a blog and just putting your feelings out there, whether someone reads it or not, just the fact that you're opening up about it is what's going to help you push past everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how hard was that for you in the beginning?
It was a 10, 15 year journey. The thing for me is, the first time I did stand up involving Tourette syndrome, involving my tics, that was the first time I started feeling like it was okay to talk about this stuff. But this show, My Voices Have Tourette's, is the one that it kind of forced me. It wasn't really like a conscious thought of I'm just going to start living the best life. It was just I just wanted to do a show. And then as soon as I started doing the show and I mean the effect it had on me, it kind of forced me to accept who I am without my choice. So that's why I always encourage people to be open about this stuff, is because you don't know when you're going to start feeling good about yourself. And if there's something that pushes you to do it without you necessarily, working on it yourself, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that you're going out there and you're doing something to make your life better is what's key. And so this show we started doing the show, and I mean, within a month, I just started going, you know what? My life's pretty good. I'm doing pretty well. Let's keep this going. And I've just kept going ever since.
And what's life like today?
Life is well, it's not easy, because life is never easy. Yeah. But it's a lot better. I mean, I look at who I am today, and I look at who I was, 15 years ago, and it's incredible. I mean, being the kid in school, just trying so hard to hide who you are, and now being 30 years old and going, I don't want to hide who I am, because who I am is like hilarious. Like, I'm not calling myself the best comedian of all time, but my tics are hilarious. Yeah. Sounding like you're going through puberty at 30 is ridiculously funny. I've had people come up to me and tell me that they love my tics, and tics is not the word I heard, and I thought they were saying they loved my tits. And I was like, okay, you know what? That was okay, I got what she said there. Never mind, forget that. But I've noticed from me squeaking all the time, I've brought so many smiles to people's faces that the moment someone else smiles, I smile, because I realized that I did that, and whether it was intended or not, it makes people feel good. And that's what's important to me.
Oh, totally. I love it. You're absolutely right. When you're smiling, other people are smiling. And what could be a completely embarrassing thing, you've totally taken the power out of that to become this amazing thing that's connecting people and giving your own life a whole lot more freedom.
Oh, I've always had that thought of like how would it be like if I felt like this when I was a kid, like someone is like I remember the first moment I remember of really feeling embarrassed. I was in a class and I was taking an exam, and I had this humming tic where I was like and the kid, I was like maybe like I don't know, 11, 12 years old, and the kid next to me told me to stop humming. And he was really angry about it. Like, it was really irritating him. Yeah. And at the time, I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't diagnosed till my early 20s. And so I was very scared, and I was very embarrassed. So I just told him I wasn't humming till finally the teacher yelled at both of us. But I was thinking, if I was how I am today in that moment, I probably would have been like, I'm really sorry, I have Tourette syndrome, but if you'd like, I can change the channel to something that you would like to listen to. I mean, is there a particular song on the radio you like? I'll just, like instead of going, maybe I'll flip the switch and it'll go, I don't know, whatever song you like, we'll mess around with it. We'll work on it together.
Oh, I love it. Gee, I would never have got any work done, that's for sure.
No, it's interesting you say that, though. There is one tic that I forgot about until the other night, but I do it all the time. It's like, how we have that ability to kind of we call it crossing your eyes, when you kind of force your vision to be blurry.
Yeah.
I have this tic where like every once in a while I'll do that constantly. And I just remembered having the other day I was reading something on my phone and I was just like, damn it, this is so interesting. Can you calm down for just 2 seconds? I'm reading. When I'm done with this, you can go about it. Like I don't care if you block out my vision of all these people, but it's so cool. Can I just finish this?
Oh no. So you can't choose, obviously you can't choose when this happens. No. Yeah.
No.
Oh, that's funny. Dan, I love what you've done with it. I love how you've turned it around. What would you say is your greatest message to the world? What have you got out of this experience, and by learning how to take power over this? What have you learned, and what about for other people?
I mean, I think I've learned that Iceland is a bit colder than I thought. It's, I keep thinking it's not bad. I lived in Michigan for 12 years. Like it should be like, the weather in Michigan is so much worse. No, it is freaking cold here. Like it's ridiculous. Like there's no snow, but there is so much wind that like I'll like spend the day the other day I tried to do like this man bun thing in my hair, made me look like a hipster samurai. Like I don't know. I was trying so hard. I got it perfect. I was like, okay. It took me an embarrassing amount of time. Like no ticks have ever been as embarrassing as how long it took me to put my hair in a man bun. And I walked outside. As soon as I stepped outside, the wind just goes straight in my face, knocks the whole thing out. And I'm like, you know what? Screw you, Iceland. That was so rude. That's my greatest message is that Iceland is cold, but it is a wonderful place to live. That's probably not what you were getting at. No, my greatest message is just something that, whether it makes you happy or it just pushes you in the right direction, try to find that thing. Try to constantly push yourself to do something better every day. The thing that people don't realize about depression is that, when we're not depressed, we realize all of this stuff makes sense. But when you are smack dab in the middle of a depressive episode, it doesn't matter. Like all this stuff just doesn't matter, and you don't think of it the same way. It's like you took a drug and you don't know what's going to happen, and all the feelings that you have during the day they all feel different when you're depressed. But when you if you get yourself to the point where you can catch yourself in that moment and you can go, okay, I don't necessarily want to do this, but it might help, finding, and if you can't think of something that'll help, maybe talk to a friend, talk to, someone that you trust, and just, maybe if they catch you in a depressive moment, have them help you out, have them, push you through something. You may not want to do it, but just try to push yourself through it. Yeah.
Dan Zerin, thank you so much. This has been awesome. I've spent most of this time trying not to get the giggles, your jokes are so funny. I love your journey. I love what you've done with it. And thank you for sharing your experience with us.
So if you've enjoyed this episode of the Let's Talk Life Design podcast, I would love your support to help me get these messages and conversations out there. It would mean a whole lot to me if you could either share the podcast with your friends and family, or if you could link to the podcast homepage over at letstalklifedesign.com. I really appreciate you joining me and your support as I talk to amazing guests on our show. My heart is really that I would be a channel for others to get their messages out there, to inspire our listeners to live their best life and to learn how to implement these life design principles. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll catch you soon, where we'll uncover more strategies and steps to designing that life that we love.